Incineration is another option for municipal waste. More than 3/4 of municipal solid waste is combustible. Paper, plastic, food and yard waste. If we incinerate it, we can reduce the volume by 90% and the weight by 75%. In an incinerator at a waste-to-energy plant, municipal solid waste is sorted and then tipped, or it's moved to the furnace and then it's combusted. It boils water to create steam to turn a turbine. The ash is the end product. There's bottom ash, which is what's the ash that you would sort of think of that's collected, and fly ash, which is the ash that's collected from some sort of smokestack before it moves into the air. Ash can have a concentrated toxicity, so if it's low toxicity, it can go to the landfill, but we need to collect all these pollutants via scrubbers. What are some of the problems with incinerating? The tipping fees, the money we bring to them is higher because there's higher construction costs that go along with making a waste-to-energy plant. There's air pollutants. The ash is more concentrated with toxins. There's less recycling because sometimes people need more waste. There's going to be incomplete combustion. And incinerator versus a landfill, why do we do one versus the other? It sort of depends on the community and the type of pollution that they are comfortable with. And this is just a diagram of how waste to energy works, just like our plant in Oxford. It's dumped into a bunker. The crane moves it from the bunker to the hopper. The waste is burned. The ash is collected and removed. The baghouse filter helps clean the air before it's released through the chimney. And then heat energy can be used to create steam and generate electricity. Another schematic of a waste-to-energy plant. Same sort of thing as incineration. Hazardous waste. Hazardous waste is liquid, solid, gaseous, or sludge waste material that is harmful to humans or ecosystems. In the United States, 20,000 different things make up 40 million tons of hazardous waste, and only 5% of that hazardous waste is recycled. Most of it is the byproduct of industry, the textile, the computer equipment industries, but there's also household hazardous waste, oven cleaners, batteries, fertilizer. Where is it stored? Homeowners and businesses have to store waste until collections can be held. It can be costly to process. Treatment, the idea of treatment, means making it less environmentally harmful. And the best option with hazardous waste is source reduction. Let's stop it before we use it. What laws do we have? We have RCRA, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. The job of that is to protect human health and the environment by reducing hazardous waste. The EPA maintains lists and works to minimize waste and ensure proper disposal. And then we have CERCLA, which is Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act. It's also known as the Superfund Act. There's a tax on chemicals and petroleum companies, which help funds the cleanup of hazardous waste sites that were unable to find a responsible party for them. If there's a responsible party, they're going to pay for it. But if there's no responsible party that can be found, that's where the money comes from. Federal government can respond directly, and it maintains an NPL, a National Priorities List for cleanup. The state with the most Superfund sites is New Jersey, which has 114, followed by California, then Pennsylvania, and then New York. And there's a diagram of those Superfund sites in New Jersey, or in the United States, and you can see how many are in New Jersey. We're almost completely green. Before we get to Brownfields, I just want to mention Love Canal. Love Canal was in New York, and it was a hazardous waste landfill that was covered and became, it was just sort of dumped there and then became a school and homes. And some major carcinogens such as benzene was found in basements. The area had an unusually high concentration of illness, and the people were evacuated, it was eventually remediated. Brownfields are the Superfund designation for locations with the highest risk to public health. They're contaminated industrial or commercial sites that may require environmental cleanup before they can be redeveloped or expanded. It's managed by the federal government to help with areas that are not Superfunds, old contaminated industrial or commercial sites. It's been criticized as inadequate, an inadequate solution to 450,000 contaminated locations. International concerns of hazardous waste. Sometimes we try to send waste to less regulated countries. Let's just ship it out of here and send it somewhere that, doesn't regulate it quite so much. An example is a cargo vessel left Philly in 1986, and it took ash to Haiti and dumped it there. I said, well, we'll just take this ash from Philadelphia to Haiti, and in 1996 it was deemed that was not proper, and it was returned, and the ash was actually put in a landfill just outside of Philly in 2002. It was deemed not hazardous by that point. Looking at ways to think about solid waste and life cycle analysis, there's no best method. A life cycle analysis looks at materials used and released throughout the lifetime of the product, from procurement of raw materials through their manufacture, use, and disposal. So this whole cradle to grave analysis. So looking at our things like particulate matter and NOx better or worse than methane? Like, is burning things better than putting them in landfills and creating methane? Like, how do we analyze these different things? Looking at integrated waste management, it employs several waste reduction management and disposal strategies in order to reduce the environmental impacts of municipal solid waste. We're looking at source reduction, recycling, compost, landfill use, incineration, and this idea of cradle to cradle rather than cradle to grave. How can we continue to use products over and over and over?